Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me again for another Facebook Live. It's my second Facebook Live and I'm a little less nervous than I was last time, but I'm still kind of nervous because this is crazy. But okay, anyway, today we're going to talk about outlining. So at the beginning of this week, I wrote a blog post on how to outline a novel. You can actually find the link in the description of this video if you are interested in that sort of thing. And I just wanted to hop on real quick to talk about outlines and to, kind of dispel some of the myths about what outlining is and what it isn't. So outlining has kind of a weird reputation in the writing community. A lot of people feel like it's not for them or it can't help them or they just don't really want to learn anything about it. And I think that's because we have this idea in our head that, an outliner is somebody who just really meticulously figures out every single detail of a plot of a book before they even get started. And it doesn't leave room for creativity and it's formulaic and it's paint by the numbers and it just it has this reputation as something that really takes the fun out of writing. And I just wanted to stop by and really quickly say that that is not what an outline does, and it's not what it is. So, at its most basic, an outline is just figuring out the big points in your book, the big plot points, the big scenes, and figuring that out kind of before you get really into the in-depth writing. So I usually don't even outline until I've written a scene or two of my book. Some people do the whole outline before they've written anything. Some people write the entire book and then go back and outline to make sure that structurally everything's where it's supposed to be. Sorry about the siren. This is Brooklyn and this is live, so what are you gonna do? But the idea is basically that you can outline a novel at wherever you are in the process. You don't have to do it at the beginning. The idea is just to kind of figure out what these big scenes are. Because most stories in the Western canon, whether or not they're movies or plays or comic books, across genre, whether they're literary or artistic or, commercial, most stories have certain scenes to hold the plot together. And I just thought we'd real quick talk about what those scenes are. So the first one happens at the end of Act 1. It's called the Catalyst. And it is the scene that changes everything for your character and begins the story. So in Harry Potter, the Catalyst in book 1 is when Hagrid bursts through the door of the cabin where they're staying and tells him that he is a wizard. This changes his whole life and it basically, sets Harry up to choose to move into Act 2. The second scene that most books or stories have that really defines the plot is it's called the Midpoint High, and it's like a tent pole. That's why I'm doing this. Oh, thank you, Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane printed out my worksheet and said it's been helpful. Thank you so much. So anyway, the tent pole happens in the middle of the book, right smack in the middle of the book, and it's a midpoint high. And basically, all of your scenes leading up to the tent pole are waiting to get there, and everything that happens after the tent pole is in reaction to it. So it kind of holds the story together from either side. And then the third scene is it's called the second act curtain, or if you're into Blake Snyder and the whole, save the cat beat sheet thing, he talks about the dark night of the soul or the all hope is lost. And this is a scene that happens at the end of your second act where it feels like your main character has failed. It feels like she can't move forward. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and this is a spoiler, so I'm sorry if you have not read this book that's been out for years and years. But at the end of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, this is when he realizes that in order to defeat Voldemort, he is going to have to die. It feels like there's no hope for our character and how is he going to get out of this? And that propels your reader into the third act. So these are just 3 scenes. This is the Catalyst, the midpoint, and the second act curtain. And a really basic outline is just figuring out what those 3 scenes are going to be. They're going to be the biggest scenes in your book, and if you have those in place, that makes it really, really simple to write the book, because when you're writing the beginning that all of your scenes need to lead to that catalyst that's going to change everything. That if you're writing your middle, all of these scenes are leading up to and in preparation for the midpoint high, and then going down from and in reaction to what happened at the midpoint high. When you're writing your third act, that this is a reaction to the second act curtain and what happened to your character there to make him feel like he's completely failed. And the third act is proving that the character can come through this anyway and get out of that. Now, that wasn't that hard, was it? That was a really easy outline, and you can still see there's so much room for creativity and you know, epiphanies and just discovering your characters in between those three kind of tent poles for how to do your structure. Those plot points, all they're doing is holding your plot together, so there's some sense of structure, and the reader feels like something's coming up. So that's all I had to talk about today. This one is going to be super quick because I think that you guys are going to be really excited to just hop down and click on the link for my blog and learn more about this. In my blog, I actually talk way more about outlining and how to come up with a much more in-depth outline if that's your thing. And if you're just sitting there and feeling really overwhelmed and you're like, oh my God, I'm trying to figure out how to write a book, I don't really want to learn how to write an outline too, don't worry, click on the blog post. There's actually a worksheet that is a fill in the blank, downloadable, down and dirty outline worksheet where you basically just print it off and I ask you questions about your book and you just fill it in, and voila, at the end of it you have an outline and you didn't have to learn anything. So if that's you, if you want something really easy, go ahead and go through that and get that download and tell me how it works for you. I'm on Instagram basically always, so hop over and say hi. And thank you so much for joining me today. This was fun. I'll see you next time.